Got me?
Yeah, hold on one second, bro. Let me just. All right, cool. We're good. Got
Sounds
the video.
good. Yeah, it's all good. You still at the gym?
Yeah. I'll be here. I'm gonna leave right after I'm done.
Very good, very good. Well, Coach, I'm not going to take up much of your time. I want to thank you first off for being here, and you've got a lot of expertise that I think my listenership can really benefit from, which is why I wanted to have you on. And I'm so excited. I love your content. And first and foremost, I want you to tell people where they can find you, especially on the YouTube channel. I think that's really important.
Cool. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, you can find me on my Instagram at Daru Strong, on Twitter at Daru Strong. And then if you look up Phil Daru Strong on YouTube, you can find it there. Obviously, I have a lot of videos going out. I just posted a video today with Tisha Torres getting her ready for her next fight in a couple of weeks. So, you know, it's constant content for people so that they can understand how to do this almost the right way, I should say, and giving them positive reinforcement to do it the right way. So that's primarily why I do it. You know, in a lot of ways, I see a lot of things that are wrong in the industry, but I don't like to bash or badmouth anyone. You know, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to do me and make sure that everybody gets, quality information so that they can reinforce it in their own world.
The reason that I really connected to you and the way that you train your clients is, at least it seems to be from the outside, you are very aware that one thing does not work for everybody. Every person is different, but everyone has the same mechanics basically, as far as range of motion type work, plyometric type work, which is why you're kind of a trailblazer in that way in MMA, I think, because nobody trains like you do. Nobody is focused to the microfibers of a muscle. I don't see like you are. So I want you to tell my listener base about, like, why did that matter to you? Because you've done everything from fighting to bodybuilding to powerlifting. I mean, you have expertise in all these areas.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to individual differences and understanding the individual in itself. I have over 85 fighters that come to me on a daily basis. So we have to make sure that, one, we do have a system in place, but again, we are working singularly so that they can get the best out of what they need. And I use things like exercises and assessment tools to identify weaknesses, compensation patterns. The great thing about it is that once you understand the athlete to a T, now you have a better ability to get them better from where they need to be. And performance-wise, you're going to keep them progressing, but also you're going to give them more longevity in the sport. And that's going to be that's crucial when you're talking about overall success going further.
Yeah. And so you have right now, it's no secret, you're training DP to get ready for Habib here in September. When you're working with a guy like DP, he's strong, he's driven, technically, he looks good. What do you focus on with him? Because I've been watching the cognitive mental training as well, which is all super important, because in one video specifically, you saw the one where he's getting used to reacting to the takedown. I've never seen that before. And it's just, I feel like every gym should have this type of training.
Yeah, we try to keep it as general as possible, but when it comes down to specificity, we try to make sure that we don't hinder the biomechanics of the sport. So in the case of that light drill, he's not going against any external load. So he still is able to do the down block efficiently and still be technical and not hinder his biomechanics. We're just working agility and reaction with that particular exercise or drill or whatever you want to call it. And by far, we know that that's going to happen in the fight. So we have to, obviously reiterate that and work on that accordingly each and every day. When it comes down to Dustin, man, a lot of it for him is you want to make sure that he has the ability to obviously be strong in the clinch, especially with this fight. Isometrics, quasi-isometric strength is going to be important. Being in and out of the pocket, moving very efficiently, and then also his power endurance. And we've seen a lot of that with Max's fight, the last fight that he had. He has a great gas tank. His VO2 is up in the 60s. So, I mean, it's not a thing of him getting more conditioning. It's more about just repeated sprints or repeated bouts of energy. And we have a large base there that we can build upon due to the fact that he has that aerobic capacity. But again, with him, he's been doing this a long time. You know what I mean? So I have to keep things very, very new almost, and vary the exercises and keep things interesting for him, because
Yeah.
things do get stale, and he sees these walls all the time. He comes in twice a day, and he's been here for 5 weeks already, so I have to change things up a bit, so just to make sure that he still stays hungry and still wants to, wants to train. A lot of times, if you have a long camp and you've been doing this for a long time, it gets a little stale. You get used to the same people, you get used to the same environment, and you don't have that motivation to do it. Obviously he has a huge motivation when it comes down to Khabib. I mean, it's his biggest fight of his career. So that's motivation in itself. But if I can help it in any way by changing up, whether it be the modality, whether it be the exercise, the tempo, and also the environment. If I have to take them out to the park, or we take them over to, stadium stairs or the beach, because we're close to the beach here, that's something that I will do just to make sure that he is enjoying training. And when you enjoy things, obviously you're going to put more effort into it, and you're going to be more aware of what you need to do.
Perfect. And, not everybody that listens to my show is a fight fan, but most are. Most are very familiar with DP. We've talked about him quite a few times, especially right after the Max fight. I want to make sure that people understand that he has the foundation that he's doing. And I was going to ask you anyway, so for DP shirts, a lot of them know who he is. Which one supports his foundation? The ones from the UFC or the ones from his website, or all?
All of them. I know he has his fight kit that he puts online after he's done with his fights, that he does auction off. So that's after the fight, but he does have his on his own website too.
Perfect. I wanted to make sure we got that in, because it's very, very important in the things he's doing, and he's fighting for a reason, for real. So I want to make sure we get that out. So with you, I want to go back to you, and you said something very important, and it's something that I hear, especially on social media all the time. I'm getting ready for my first amateur go. I'm going to do an amateur kickboxing fight. And I listen to a lot of guys go, well, I'm in camp. I'm 8 weeks out. I'm 9 weeks out. I'm 10 weeks out. But they're still working a 9-to-5 job. They're still doing things like that. So it's not really, to me, a camp. What means like it's a camp to you? Besides somebody's getting ready for an amateur thing, to see what they feel in a camp. What is the difference to you?
Well, a camp requires a lot of sacrifice. These guys here that live and train at American Top Team, they come from across the country, they come from overseas, they come from different across the world, and they stay here for 8 to 12 weeks, to get ready for a fight. And obviously a lot of them, pretty much all of them, are in the UFC, Bellator, or some major promotion, so they're going to get paid more. But even our amateurs, man, I know that when they're getting ready for a fight, a lot of their work outside of the gym, gets pushed to the wayside. And when I was fighting, I really didn't do much but train. I trained people on my own. Obviously I was a personal trainer, and I did strength and conditioning with my teammates. So I made a little money on the side. But as far as like a true job, I had no job, or any type of thing there. It was just primarily just train. You go make a little money on the side, and then train again, and go to sleep, and eat whatever you can, you know what I mean? So a lot of it comes from, you got to make sure that you have a sacrifice there to get the job done. And when you're talking about a camp, it's everything encompassing, right? So you have to make sure that all your scheduling is down pat. You have to make sure that your nutrition is on point. You have to know exactly where you're at from a base standpoint, from a physiological standpoint, and even from a technical and tactical standpoint, because all these things come together. This sport is multifaceted, especially talking about, combat sports in general, but MMA, you have so many things going on throughout the weeks. So you have to make sure that you have a structured schedule so that things don't clash. When you're talking about kickboxing and things like that, you have one modality that you have to worry about, but there's also training that goes along with that. So physical preparation, your nutrition, your diet, the weight cut, all that stuff. So it's honing in and getting everything structured and scheduled out. And then obviously you're going to have to make a couple sacrifices too.
Yeah. I've always just found that interesting. Me and a couple of the guys at the gym that I train at, we've talked about, like, look at these guys talking about camps. Like, this is an amateur gig. Like, nobody's getting paid for this. There's no camps here. And as I always thought that was funny. And one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I don't know if you got to get trained, and if you do, definitely don't let us keep you. You were, like I said, bodybuilding, fighting, powerlifting, which I love because I'm a person of many hobbies and passions as well. Did you ever find a time in your life when someone said, you know, Phil, you got to pick one thing? And you said, no, I don't. I can do all these things, and I can then funnel it down into now what you've done, which is an explosive YouTube channel, which is just content. Then you have a business side of it where you do offer online courses. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I did dedicate a certain amount of time to each individual sport first and foremost. I played college football. I pretty much played football all my life until obviously my college career was done. Then I started doing MMA, and I was all in on MMA. You know, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I was into different things. I was into powerlifting. I was into strongman. I did strongman competitions when I wasn't fighting or wasn't in camp. You know, but I was a professional fighter, and that was my main job. You know what I mean? Yeah. I also own my own facility, my own gym, and I was owning my own gym. I was doing strongman training, and I was competing. Obviously, I was a professional fighter. But the one thing that you know, you have to have your mandatories, and you know, what's more important would be obviously my fighting career at that point in time. Sure. When I started doing bodybuilding, I actually left. I retired from the sport of MMA, and then I started doing bodybuilding, and I basically dedicated about 6 months to 8 months to just bodybuilding training. Now, on that same time, I was obviously running my own business and doing that. And then after that, obviously, I went into powerlifting. What I can say is that you need to make sure that you have a priority, and then whatever else you want to do, make sure that you schedule it out appropriately. There's not a time in the day that I'm just not doing anything, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. I was saying, you know, for me to do everything that I do, because I still have clients for personal training and stuff that I do, you know, everyone's like, dude, we need to hang out soon. I'm like, I don't really have time to hang out, dude. Like, I'm either training 2 to 3 times a day, training someone else, or as you can probably hear, I've got a family. You know, I have a daughter who's young. It's a sacrifice. And I think if you don't have even your sleep and your relaxation time, which is important, recovery and everything planned out, you know, it's really you're in for a bad road. As far as recovery goes, what do you believe in? What do you subscribe to? Cryo, IR, sauna?
I'm a big believer in the sauna, and I'm also a big believer in cold immersion. So right now, I've been actually working with Dustin to get him in the ice bath at least 2 times a week. Yeah, it's fun to watch.
Not do well with the cold?
No, not really.
Say.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
You know, but I know the benefits there. You know, you get acetylcholine increase, and obviously we're gonna increase parasympathetic response. You know, other than that, it's a good way to mentally get him prepared for what he has to do inside that cage too, you know. So, and then from there, obviously he'll get some soft tissue release. He'll do some Graston. Same thing with me. I like to get at least 1 massage, you know, at least every other week, if not every week. You know, and most of the times I don't have a whole lot of time to do that, but I try to make sure that I you know, block out a time for that. You know,
I work at a cryotherapy sauna or cryotherapy clinic. That's my 9 to 5 job, and we have an IR sauna, so it actually accents my, you know, my outside of that very well. And I think more people need to get used to that cold, because, like you said, for Dustin to go and do what he's about to do, we have a full body cryo sauna chamber, so it's not just your head sticking out. So it's that fight or flight response, and I mean, I notice it deep in rounds, man. The stress, putting yourself in purposeful bouts of stress for controlled amounts of time really help. I mean, and it just makes you feel great. Like I said, I don't know how much you actually cryo. I haven't done an ice bath since 2-a-days in high school, but I always, cold submersion is no joke.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I also like to do cryo every now and again. Do you have a float tank in the cryo place?
So we have 2 locations. We have one in the city I live in, Clarksville. One is in Paducah, Kentucky. The one we have in Kentucky has a float tank as well.
Nice.
Yeah, we do the
like
compression therapy, all that. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I think that I think the cryo's a little bit easier, obviously, when it comes down to it. And if I don't have the time, or he doesn't have the time, or I can't get into the tub or something like that, then yeah, cryo would be an excellent resource to go to. And you can always switch it up, always vary your recovery methods. The same thing as you would, when you want to vary your exercises. So it's always good to do that.
Heck yeah. Well, Coach, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with us, man. It means a lot. I just wanted to pick your brain for a little bit. I know there's a ton of knowledge out there. I want you to tell everyone how they can get your programs, everything you're doing, and also just one more time with the content, because it's something, if you're any sort of athlete, they should be watching.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, so just you can go to my website, darustrong.com, DARU strong.com. I have all my programs up there. You can hit the link. If you're looking for a combat sports program, it's a separate program or a separate link that you could go to, but you'll find it on my website. So it's very easy to find. As far as my content, again, my Instagram is @DaruStrong and Twitter's @DaruStrong. And then my YouTube, again, Phil Daru Strong, or just go ahead and search my name. You'll find it.
Yeah. And I don't know how much of this you guys do actually or are actually talking about. So they'll also be interested in my listenership to know you recently had an issue with Instagram. Your page came down, and the UFC actually had to help get it back. What was the issue? Are you even able to talk about it?
Yeah, no, it's just a copyright thing. They use a third party to basically scan any type of copyright infringement. I actually reposted a fight pic of Joanna Jędrzejczyk winning a fight in 2017.
Yeah.
I'm very close with the UFC, so
Right.
they didn't know it was me or whatever the case. They didn't know, like, they don't go and handpick like, okay, we got to get Daru. It wasn't that. It was just a miscommunication, misunderstanding, and they worked very hard to get it back, and now they have me on a list, so it's actually pretty good there. I love the UFC. I love everything they stand for, and I'm not just saying that. Whenever I go to the UFC PI, they treat me great, welcome me with open arms. So I'm good with those guys.
Yeah, and it's always so confusing, because me as a content creator too, it's a fine line that you toe between what music can I use, pictures even, and YouTube is the funniest about it, because there are some things you can directly have the permission for, and they'll still flag it. So yeah, I thought maybe that insight would help some people, but yeah, it looks like we're all in the same boat of, it's not somebody hand picking stuff. It's just, it is what it is. And
the thing I would say, I would not repost, or I wouldn't post anything when it comes to the fights on the UFC cards. So if you guys are out there, don't post any of the UFC fights. Don't post,
clips of the fights.
Nah, no clips.
I know a bunch of people were getting messed up for Masvidal's knee. The clip of the knee was circulating, and I know a bunch of people's accounts got smashed for that one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Coach, like I said, thank you so much. Send DP our love, and I'm going to be pulling for him. I'm watching, and you got a ton of athletes that are about to fight here coming up soon. So we're gonna keep an eye out. I hope we can do this again.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Coach. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
See you.